Hello, it's Justin here again. Today I've got a short video about my Works Landroid robot lawnmower. Now, as you can imagine, I've ended up doing a number of upgrades, and so I will detail some of these through the video. And I'll leave links to all of the upgrades in the description. My wife has christened him Roger, Roger the Roid, and he was purchased online and is a Works Landroid 139E, pretty much the base model. As you can see from my unboxing photo from over a year ago now, we get the Landroid itself, the base station, a whole lot of manuals, the boundary wire plus pegs, and in my case I also bought the ACS anti-collision system to prevent hitting obstacles. Now, being the 139E, it's rated at 500 square meters and comes with a 2 amp hour 20 volt battery. The only difference between this model and the next model up is the size of the battery. And so one of the first upgrades I undertook was to purchase the maximum available 6 amp hour third-party battery. And as you can see here where it's installed, there's still plenty of room with the larger battery installed. So when you get started, as you may know, the Landroid requires a boundary wire, and it will operate within the boundary wire and follow the boundary wire to get back to its base to recharge. So the first thing you need to do is to lay out your boundary wire. So here I've got a short video of the initial test boundary wire that I used for Roger.
Okay, we've done a temporary installation of the Landroid. So the base station is at the back of the house, close to power, and we think in the best place in terms of our paths. So the temporary installation sees us doing a loop to start and then commence up a fairly steep path, which might be a bit beyond him, but we'll give Roger a go and see how he goes. Roger, by the way, is our Landroid. Now it starts to get quite steep here, and then we get up to the front lawn. As you can see, he needs a mow, so it's a good opportunity. So here we go 26 centimetres out. You might just be able to see the cord there running up to the garden edging, and then 26 centimetres, you probably can't see it too much, all the way up. There's a bit of it there, all the way up to our front tap. A square to be able to leave the hose out. You just have to whip a snip this separately. It goes around the tap. Don't know whether you can see the outline of the cable there. And then continues up to the post box, the letter box at the front of the house. I'm going to replace those bits with a pole keeper for the gate at some point. It turns around. Now it's running 10 centimetres inside the driveway, and then again 10 centimetres in front of the edging here. Now the problem, of course, is that driveway is on a slight slope. So again, another challenge for Roger when he gets there. So we're still running at 10 centimetres. Now you would have seen this island garden. I've chosen not to put a boundary wire around it because we've got the collision avoidance system. I'm hoping that it'll pick up the rocks and just not mow there, but we'll see. All right, continuing around the front path, again 10 centimetres away from the path. Continuing down to the path, and then again we cross over onto the path and make our way back down the path to the back of the house. So fingers crossed the slope isn't too steep for Roger, but we'll get him out in a moment and see what happens. So he gets down to the back of the path and then turns back into the base station. So we'll give him a go shortly.
So now that the boundary's laid out, let's take a look at what happened on his first run.
There's Roger ready to head off, so we'll turn him on. We'll punch in our PIN code. Oh, there he goes. Right, so he's found our little trip to turn around. So far so good. So he's following the path. We'll see how far he gets. Oh, okay, he's going to zigzag all the way up the hill. Okay, that'll be fun. So that's why you need to put these two lines reasonably close together. Ah, he's worked it out. Very good.
Now this was filmed a year ago. The current version of the firmware, 3.32.0, doesn't allow this to occur at all. You need to map out your lawn segments and get the Landroid to follow the guide wire to each segment, unfortunately.
Here's the steep grade. He's handling that pretty well. I'm impressed so far. So he's zigzagging around, but he's staying in the path, that's good. And now he's actually getting onto the lawn. And there he goes. So quite heavy lawn for him to cut. We've left it on the highest setting to give him a break. And we'll see what he does.
So remember those rocks around the garden bed? Let's see how we did with the collision avoidance system.
So here's the test. So I haven't put a boundary wire around the garden, but I'm hoping the collision avoidance, there you go, makes him miss the rocks. Well, he's hit one of the rocks. He's turned around and moved off, so that's working okay.
Whilst you can control your Landroid directly from the control buttons on the machine itself, sending it out to mow, returning it home, emergency stop, turning it on and off and so forth, there is an app that connects to the Landroid via Wi-Fi. This gives you added features. It allows you to map out your lawn distance. It allows you to set up your lawn sectors. I'll talk more about that in a moment. It also allows you to set up a scheduler and also to set up a party mode, which is a weird way of suggesting that the scheduler is going to be disabled during potentially a party. So here's my home screen on the app with Roger's details showing. You can see that there's a whole range of options that are not enabled because they're grayed out, but I do have the active collision system, and I don't have the off-limits voice control radio link or Find My Android. What I have done though is hidden an Apple Airtag on the Landroid so that if it leaves the property, I get an alert from that. Let's take a look at some of the extra options by clicking on the three parallel lines on the top left, which gives us the menu. So the menu has a whole range of functions which all work the way you would expect. I'm going to focus on the programming for the Landroid's operational activities, which are covered by the section entitled My Lawn. Here's the My Lawn screen. You can see that I only use 4 of the functions. The lawn function, in fact, I set up when I was doing my original demo a year ago, and actually is not doing anything for me at the moment. It becomes important if you use the auto scheduler, irrigation, nutrition, etc., but I don't use any of those. The multi-zone I will talk to in a moment. There's a scheduler that allows you to program how many hours each day and which hours for the Landroid to work. And there's a function around rain delay, which currently I've got turned off. but you can set a number of hours for the Landroid to delay its routine if it senses any rain. So now let's have a look at the multi-zone function. Here's my multi-zone screen. Now you may recall earlier in the video I showed my Landroid trying to negotiate the path, and it was zigzagging up the path till it got to the lawn. Well, it would no longer do that in the current firmware. Now it actually would retreat out of that pathway and go back to the base station in this case. So the way to overcome that in the current firmware is to set up your zones. So zone 1 for me is the path, and you can see it never mows there. Zone 2 is the front lawn, and it mows 100% of the time there. And zone 3 and 4 in my case are not enabled. At the bottom there you can see the redefined zones. The way you define a zone when you run that is the Landroid will move, and you basically push a button when it enters what you consider to be the new zone in your lawn. I've set it up, it works remarkably well. I've actually got two lawns, one at the front and one at the back of the house. So I end up using the same configuration for both. Fortunately, there is a path on the way to each of them, and it's about the same length. So that works pretty well for me. So in the scheduler, whenever it runs this zone system. Now you can see that you can set a percentage. So if you did have multiple lawn zones, you can then set a percentage for how much of the time the Landroid mows in zone 2, 3, and 4, etc. Really helpful feature now because of the change in the most recent firmware. Now there is HomeKit compatibility via a Landroid plugin for HomeBridge. Unfortunately, as of version 0.12, it no longer compiles on a whole range of users' systems, including mine. So it currently doesn't work for me. But when it was working previously, it gave us buttons to send it to mow, to return it to home, and it gave you sensors to tell you whether it was raining and whether it was in its docking station. But sadly, at the moment, in November 2023, not working on a large number of HomeBridge systems seems to be something to do with the compilers in the Raspberry Pi. Hopefully the developer will get onto that soon, and I look forward to getting that up and running again. Now, it's not unusual for Landroid owners to find that their machine has had its way with the boundary wire and cut it. In fact, I've counted up to 20 cuts in my boundary wire and had to replace it recently because of the number of cuts that I had in it. You can purchase through Landroid a fairly bulky joiner that's meant to be water resistant and therefore useful. But I've found these solder splicers from the local electronics store far better. They're smaller and they're certainly cheaper. And as far as I can tell, these are actually water resistant. Even though heat shrink isn't, you can see there the red tags that provide some additional support for the shrink wrap to make it watertight. So there's my fix-it pack. I've got the splicers, I've got my wire strippers, and I've got a heat gun that allows me to melt the solder in the middle of that joiner and then shrink wrap to the cable. Works a treat, but of course after you get 10 or 20 splits, it's probably time to replace the boundary wire, which I've just done recently. Some other bad behaviour that Landroid owners experience is where they start digging holes. As you can see here, my Landroid loves digging holes, particularly in the softer dirt, and so out of the box it will do that pretty easily. I've done a range of modifications to improve grass cutting and to prevent it from digging holes and gaining traction and so forth. And I'm going to run through each of those with you now. Well, the first modification really doesn't make a lot of difference to the lawn cutting or the Landroid's operations but it makes you feel better that you've got one. And that's adding the googly eyes, which were just a couple of dollars online and then sticky taped on. I'm hoping to put a spoiler on the back like a lot of other users have as well. So the first real modification that actually improves performance is adding weight to the back wheels. So you can see here that I've folded up some LED flashing and put it in the battery compartment. I've also unscrewed those two compartments on the right and filled them with LED flashing as well to add to the weight on the back wheels to gain some extra traction. The next thing I did was added spiky wheels to gain extra traction, and they do make a huge difference. Just a word of caution, make sure you buy the right size. My Landroid was purchased in 2022 and had the larger wheels. I accidentally bought the smaller spikes and they didn't fit at all. In fact, didn't make any difference. So just make sure you measure the spikes that you need for the wheels you've got and purchase the right ones, but they make a huge difference. The next thing I did was to remove the guard that protects the blades. Now, firstly, I forgot to take a photo, so thank you to Jansen19. I've borrowed this image from his account, and allegedly the guard channels the grass to the blades, but in reality it actually cuts better without it. It also potentially protects small children and animals from getting cut, but only really if they're on that left-hand side of the Landroid. The blades are still unprotected on the other side. So I've taken mine off and it works a treat. What you might have also noticed in this photo is that I've replaced the blade disc from the standard 3-blade disc to a third-party 6-bladed disc. And I've also changed the blades from the Landroid square blade to the Bosch series triangular blades. I've found that this combination works very, very well. It cuts extremely well and very, very quiet. Again, just make sure when you're buying the disc that you buy the right model. I, again, purchased the wrong one the first time, and whilst I got it to work, it did cause a vibration and an awful noise, and then I bought the one with the correct adapter on the back, the hexagonal adapter on the back, and screwed straight in, worked beautifully the first time, and doesn't make any noise at all. So remove the guard, change the disc for the 6-blade disc, and then potentially change the blades you use from the Landroid square blades to these Bosch blades. All of this advice, of course, I gained from others online. So links to all of these modifications I'll put down in the description. I thought I'd finish the video off with a short clip of Roger enjoying himself in some very long grass as a result of not being able to mow whilst I was replacing the boundary wire. So I hope you enjoy this clip to see us out today. So that's it. There's Roger in all of his glory. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care.